Hello, everybody, and welcome to Supermind. And today I'm really thrilled and honoured to have Natasha with us. I've known her for a little bit now, but I know that she's got a very rich understanding in businesses and her three principled understanding that goes with it. So, Natasha, do you want to very briefly say a little bit about yourself, and then we can go in headlong into the topic?
Yes, as you might have read on the little flyer around this webinar, I've been in business as a self-employed trainer and consultant for about 20 years now. So all that I do is around businesses. I work as a consultant and a trainer and a coach in businesses, big corporations, ministries, and small corporations, doing lots of leadership development. And when I came across the principles about 3.5 years ago, I saw an opportunity to bring it into business because I feel that's what they need right now. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. It's like, why is it important for businesses to hear about it? What is it that they can benefit? And how can we talk to them about how the mind works in a way that makes sense to them? That's sort of the things I want to speak about.
Brilliant. Okay, so what's in business? Okay, tell us all about it.
So where I wanted to start was to talk a little bit about just loving being human. It's like this being human has two sides to it. There's the human part, which is playing in the world of form. It is having all the emotions from agony to ecstasy. It's all about dancing and helping a friend through a difficult time, being helped by a friend through difficult times. It's every single experience that we can have is about playing in the world of form. So when I'm so being the human is the world of form. And then of course we have the being part, which is all about being present in this moment. It's all about being peaceful, being joyful. And the thing about businesses is that at the moment, and probably for a long time, there's been imbalance, and there's too much focus on the human part. It's so much in businesses about becoming something. And as soon as you are becoming, as soon as you are focusing on the human part, on what can I get, what can I gain, how do I get ahead, how do I get success, how do I make money, how can I become better than the next person? So when there's too much weight on the becoming part, you forget about the being part. So a lot of what I do is to bring into businesses being. And because in being is being present. And you can't be present in the moment when you are focusing on becoming something. You're constantly in search for something. So introducing being is about being present so that you can notice what's going on with me, what's going on with my colleagues, with my employees, with the business as such. How do I sense what's going on in the business? So there's this play between the being human that is what I'm working on very much to try and find more balance for businesses. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So I'm one of these people who, like many others, have gone through the past maybe 35 years of searching for things to help me understand how the mind works. So quite early, actually, my early teens, I already started searching for things to understand how the mind works. And I decided to become a nurse. And then a couple of years into that study, I found out, no, it doesn't teach me a lot about how the mind works. It teaches me about how the body works. So then I started becoming a psychotherapist and completed my study in that. And that was more in line with what I really wanted. So I got a good sense of, from a psychological perspective, how the mind works. And that was perfect for business. So I've always been the kind of soft trainer, you'd probably call it. I'm the one bringing in the soft skills into companies. So I would do courses like emotional intelligence. It could be how to get a team to work better. How do you get employees to participate? How do you create motivation? So all of these sort of soft skills is what I'm known for in this country. And so when I came across the principles and started to see what it is that creates all of our experiences, it just blew my mind, and I could see how beneficial it would be for companies to be able to see that. So so both the being part and the human part are important in terms of businesses. I mean, we can't live with just one of them. We need both, and at the same time, as I said, there's an imbalance at the moment. So some of the things that I wanted to talk about is how is it that how can you bring the three principles into businesses, and I'll do that by sharing what I've been doing. And then I wanted to talk about what is important for organizations to know about the mind works. And then in the end, why is it that it makes sense for organizations to even talk about the principles? So those are sort of the three things that I'll touch upon. And so I'll speak about these three things, and then I'm thinking that we can, then I'll open it up for questions and answers. So if there's anything that you want to ask, you can maybe send Brett a little message, and he'll make sure that I get the questions in the end. So how can you bring three principles into business? So what I have done is that I've kept having the same clients that I've always had. I haven't changed anything. And I still have the same seminars, which means that I haven't changed the names of them. For instance, I have a seminar called Get More Personal Power. Now, who wouldn't want to have that? For most people, that's something that they want. So I'm still having the same titles of my seminars. What has changed is that I do it completely differently. So for me, personal power these days is not about having all these different skills. It's more about who am I showing up as? Who am I authentically? What is it that I bring to the table? How can I be more aware of my own wisdom? So I teach people about how the mind works. I, of course, talk about how thought creates all of our experiences and how we are aware of that, or can become aware of that via the power of consciousness that we all have. And then I talk about what it is that powers it all, mind. And of course in businesses, because I do see the three principles as being completely spiritual, but I don't use that word when I do business. It's not really necessary. Unless people ask me directly, then I will answer that. So how can we talk about how the mind works? So one of the things I wanted to be really practical today, in case this is something that any of you want to do, or maybe you already do it, and we can share our insights. What I do specifically is I always ask the question when I start a new seminar. I say to people, so how do you think that your experiences are created? How much of what you experience right now comes from outside, the weather, the traffic, or the people, and how much of your experiences in this moment comes from within? And in any given business context that I've been in, usually people will say something like 70% comes from the inside, or 80%. Some people say 90 or 99%. It's very, very few people who say less than 30% comes from the inside. So it's like everybody that I've met have a sense of that their experiences is at least in part created from the inside. And then I continue to talk about thought. And I usually explain how, I use examples, of course, of how we can be two people watching the same film and create two different experiences. Usually when I watch movies with my husband, I'm hiding under his arm because I get really scared if I see a horror movie, and he's just laughing at me. So why is that? Well, of course, because we're creating different images in our mind. We are seeing different things, and so we'll have different experiences. Our thoughts will be different. So I use examples to show people how we each create our experience from thought. So, and I don't mean personal thinking. Another question I ask people is how many thoughts do you think any person has a day? And people are always surprised when I say that science says that we have between 80 and 100,000 thoughts a day. People usually say, that's why I'm so tired at night. Yeah, something like that. So personal thinking is the computer that we all have inside that of course is colored by the education we have, the background we have, the culture we have. So all of our personal thinking is going to be different. That's always going to be true. But what's the same for all of us is that it is the principle of thought. And when I say principle, I mean the most fundamental. The principle of thought is what's the same for all of it. It's always creating our experiences from moment to moment. And then I start speaking about how we can all be conscious of thinking. And as soon as you start speaking about consciousness, people get a sense of this you can always sort of go back a little bit and get a sense of, oh yeah, I was thinking that early on, and then I had that thought, and then I had that experience. And so I always like to take people to places by using metaphors and stories and asking questions to help them get their own experience of consciousness. Oh yeah, I was conscious of that, and then that changed, and then my experience changed. Wow. So it's something that happens to themselves and not just something that I say will happen. And then I speak about mind, where everything arises in. So all our thinking arises in our mind, and consciousness is powered by mind. So I talk about that. And mind is always, for some people, a little tricky because we can't find mind in the brain. It's nowhere. People have been looking for through all of ages to find out where is it that mind exists. But of course, it's not there. But people understand that their thinking arises in mind. So from then on, when people start seeing that it is thought that creates their experiences, suddenly something begins to shift, because they start to see that the blame that they keep giving other people, their boss, their work environment, the amount of stressful tasks they have, when they start to see that it's actually not anything outside of them that's creating the stress or the worry or the anxiety, it's actually they're thinking about it. Once that happens, it becomes much easier then to talk to them about what it is that they can do to get into the being part. So I always start by the human part and sort of help people ease into then, because at one point they'll go, so then what can I do? Now I understand. They get a little sense of this thing about thought and personal thinking, and then of course they want to know what to do. So one of the things that I also introduce is how waking up to the fact of thought immediately as you start to see thought, and usually you'll see it because there will be an emotion. That's usually the alarm signal that sets us off, is I'm feeling anxious or stressful, or something is going on that's not nice. And as soon as I sense that, once I have the understanding that it's thought that's creating this stress or uncomfortable feelings, once they get that, then they can wake up. And it's waking up, it's like waking up from a dream. You've probably heard this metaphor before, but it's like you know when you have a nightmare and you wake up in the night and you go, oh my God, it was just a nightmare, and I'm not flying away with a spaceship with green men around me. I'm at home in bed. So the same sort of relief that you can sense when you see that it's a nightmare, the same sense of relief is going to happen when you see that most of what you're creating through the day is daymares. So you start seeing the illusory nature of thought, of thinking, and that's a big thing. So waking up to thought throws you into the present moment, throws you into being. And so the being part of being human, a human being, is where you access mind, where you access wisdom, where you have opportunity for new thinking, where you have the opportunity of just resting. So this is where you create resilience. And this is something, of course, that businesses are very interested in, is becoming more resilient. There's so much stress. Now I see people here at this webinar from many different countries, and I'm assuming that stress is something that you probably have in all countries in your organizations. I know here in Denmark that it's something that so many people talk about, and I know I, as a stress coach, come out to companies all the time to help prevent that. And I used to do it in a certain way before. I used to talk about how it's important to exercise and how it's important to do things that are fun. And so there was all of these external ways of helping relieve stress. But what I do now is help people see and realize what it is that's creating the stress, which is the thinking that they have around what it is that they find stressful, their boss or environment or what it is. So it's really changed the way that I work today, and it has really great benefits for people. It's what I've seen over the past 3.5 years. So I'll continue doing that. So a question that I'm asked often from people who want to go into businesses and talk more about this is, well, how do I sell it? How do I get people to become aware of what it is that they can benefit from? And so I never sell when I go out to companies and sell seminars or coaching or if I'm giving talks. I never say, look, I've got this new thing. It's called the 3 Principles. There's this guy called Sydney Banks. That's not the way I do it, because people are not so interested in the content as much as why is this important to us. So I'm always trying to find ways of helping them to see why this is beneficial. So I'd like to share with you some of the things that I speak about now in terms of how I convince businesses to hire me to do a training. So some of the things is when you wake up to thought and you see that you're creating this illusory world around you, it makes you become more personal accountable. You start seeing that, oh, it's me who's creating the stress through my thinking. And when I start to do that, I don't blame anybody anymore for my stress. It's almost impossible. If I'm annoyed with my husband, I can't blame him for my annoyance. I can see that it's my thinking. I don't even blame myself. I usually laugh now when it happens, but it's interesting how there becomes more personal accountability, and that is something that is so important for businesses today. I hear leaders all the time talk about how can we have, what can I do to get my employees more personal accountable? How can I get them to take more responsibility instead of being sometimes like little children who says, you're the boss, you make all the decisions, and I'm just little me. And they very often want people to be more powerful and to take responsibility for what's going on. So that's one of the benefits, to be more personal accountable. Another thing that happens is it becomes much easier to forgive other people. As soon as you see again that it's your own creating of your experiences, you can start forgiving other people for their actions, because you start to see that they are, of course, in their separate reality. They're seeing things from their perspective. And it does something to you in a big way when you're able to become aware of how people are creating their own reality moment by moment. And so instead of, again, blaming them or getting angry with them for what they're doing, you can start to forgive them, because you can see that they are caught in negative thinking or in hurtful thinking. So the more that I've seen people become aware of where their wisdom is coming from, the more I see people also being compassionate with colleagues, with their boss, and just see, oh, this or that person is caught right now. Another thing that I also talk about in terms of benefits is many of us have these perception of what I can or cannot do. So there might be people, some of you maybe even sitting here today, who might think, oh, I couldn't possibly go into businesses. I couldn't possibly present the principles to a large corporation. So a limiting belief like that is one of the things that can be interesting to look at, seeing that it's just thought, that it's not true. And as soon as you start waking up and seeing how that is also just thought, then you become much more free to do what you want. And as you come out to companies and start presenting to them, you are much more comfortable, because you're not believing your own limitations anymore. I was working with this young man a couple of weeks ago. He's 19 years old, and he was going to Copenhagen Business School. He was going to his exams, and he was terrified of it. And I said, well, talk to me about what it is that you're thinking. And he said, well, I see myself going into the exams room. I see that as they ask me questions, I don't know how to answer them. Then I see them giving me the worst, that I fail the exam. I see myself, so the film continues, I see myself going home telling my parents. They get so angry at me that they throw me out of the house. Then I can't get a job. I can't find a place to live. And his last picture was seeing himself walking around in the streets with a cart with all of his belongings. My heart went out to him so much. It was amazing how he was terrifying himself through the film that he was showing himself. And no wonder that he was so afraid of exams that he actually had to sleep in his parents' bedroom the night before big exams. And so what I did was I talked to him about thought, what it is, and how it's being created every single moment through the power of thought, and that it doesn't have to be true. And it was really amazing how, when he saw that it changed completely the way that he was able to go back then and take his exams, and I'm happy to say they went really well. So these are some of the things that I help people see, is how they create limitations for themselves via their thinking. Other things that are benefits to companies is, for instance, how like ordinary moments can become more enjoyable. For a lot of us, the work that we have has parts of it that are maybe not as enjoyable as other parts. There can be some repetition in the work, or for me, it's always the accounting part. I really like training and teaching and coaching, and then I have to get down to all the practical things, and they're not my favorite part. But I've noticed that I can become present with that, and it becomes enjoyable. It becomes things that I can do and just and feel all right about. So even ordinary things can become more enjoyable when you understand how it is that you're creating your own stress. So, of course, another thing that I also talk to companies about is very much about resiliency. As soon as you realize that your stress and upset is coming 100% from your thinking, a lot of the automatic personal thinking that you used to have falls away. It simply dissolves. It's not able to be present when you see the illusory nature of it. And so it creates resilience when you're able to see what it is that's creating your stressful feelings. And so you become less burdened with stress. So I've known, for me, I've had times in my life when I've been very stressed, but I've noticed since coming across the principles that it doesn't happen anymore. I've become much better at taking one thing at the time. Even if I have a lot to do, which I still do, I'm doing as much or almost as much as I always have. But I've just noticed that I take one thing at the time, do that, I'm present with that, and it doesn't take as long. And then I don't become stressed. So it really does create a resiliency to see what it is that creates all of our experiences. Now, I've called this talk Wisdom in Business because it's one of my favorite parts about talking to companies is for them to start to see how they can get fresh thinking. How do they access their wisdom? Another question I like to ask when I'm talking to businesses is I say to them, when are you most creative? And then I just wait and listen. People will say, in the shower, when I'm fishing, when I'm walking the dog, when I'm going for a run, when I'm painting. I haven't yet heard any single person say, well, it's when I really sit down and think hard about something. That's when I get my good ideas. So intuitively, people are aware that where they get fresh thinking from is not when they're thinking. And so a lot of what I do is to help people start realize that they already know how to get fresh thinking. They just don't think about it. They don't know that that's what's happening. So by seeing that fresh thinking comes from relaxing, being with your kids, playing or doing sports or whatever it is, sitting looking out at the ocean, when people start to realize that that's what, that they get in touch with something deeper in them at those moments, then it becomes easier to then point them to the direction where they can access their wisdom on a daily basis. So wisdom in business is very much about helping business people to access their own wisdom instead of relying on, well, how do we used to do it, or who can I call, or let's get an expensive consultant in, someone like myself that I used to be. Now I'm much more interested in helping people see how they can access their wisdom themselves, because most people, they already know what to do. In a certain area, they just need to find out how they can rest in the place where wisdom comes from, and that happens to be where they are present in the moment. It's waking up to thought, being thrown into the present moment, and resting in consciousness, and from that space filling up with mind's love and wisdom. And when I say love, I don't mean personal love. I mean compassion. I mean connectedness. I mean starting to see that we're a team, that people are not different from me. We have different thinking. We have separate realities. But we're all human beings, and we're all doing the best that we can in any given moment with whatever clarity or lack of clarity that we have. So when people start noticing when they are already accessing wisdom, naturally, without even thinking about it, it becomes more of an ordinary thing. And then people can start to create moments through their day where they can access the wisdom without having to take a shower 15 times a day. They can simply, with their consciousness, access the space where wisdom is always ready to give new thoughts. The only thing that stops us from having new thinking is when we think, when we have contaminated thinking, as Sid Banks would call it, that clouds over the light of wisdom that's always present, is always waiting to break through. And it sometimes comes through in the most strange places and ways. For me personally, it's usually when I wake up in the morning. I'll wake up at 4 or 5 and I'll have an answer to something that I've maybe been puzzling me for days, and I didn't know where the answer would come. But the more this has happened to me over the past years that I've known about the principles, the more I've become aware of this, the more trust and faith I have that it will happen. So even when I get stuck, and I do get stuck again and again, and feel anxious and don't know what to do about it, but now when it happens, I know that at some point the sun will come out, the clouds will part, and a new idea will come to me that will tell me a little bit about which way to go. And it's so funny because it's usually something that I didn't see coming. It's sometimes solutions that I could never think of. So these are some of the things that that are some of the benefits of that makes organizations say, well, why should we hire you? And so telling them about some of the benefits. So I still don't necessarily say anything about the 3 principles. I don't mention 3 principles in there, but I just talk about the benefits because that's what they want. They want the benefits, and they don't really care what theory, what is the content of what I'm presenting. They just want the benefits. So that's what I tend to give them. So one of the questions that some of you might have is, well, how do I get started? How do I? And I'm happy to answer questions in a moment. But one of the things that I want to say is that I see so many who get so excited about this, which I am as well. So I understand completely. But then they quit their day job and they go, I want to be a 3 principles facilitator and coach. And they sort of throw away everything that they have to step out on this branch, which is new. And what I want to say is that sometimes it's really good to see where you are, because many of you are already in an organization. Start there. Talk to your colleagues. Present it to your boss. Ask your boss if you can speak a little bit about something at a meeting. So the more that you make every day a chance to talk about this, the deeper grounding you'll get. The more you just practice talking about it and talking about it. This is what I did. I learned about this 3.5 years ago, and immediately I started speaking about it. So in the first seminar, maybe it was 5 or 10 minutes. The next one, maybe 15 minutes, and maybe 20 minutes. The more that I've worked with this, I can now weave it into everything that I do, so that I'm able to talk about this pretty much all the time. But do it where you are already. Start there, get the grounding, and then when the grounding is right, it's much easier to then, if you want, quit your day job and go out and do it somewhere else. So that's what I wanted to say. And of course, there's so many people who are able to also jump out and just do it, and that's fantastic as well. But it's always good to, I think, to practice talking about it, because even if you have a deep insight and have this sense of what this means to you, it's still practicing how to talk about it that makes it easier for people to understand. Now, I hope I've made myself a little understandable, so I better turn to questions so that I can find out if this has made any sense to anybody.
Well, I thought that was absolutely wonderful. So if anybody had any questions, because I've only got 4 windows at the top of my screen, I cannot see everybody. So please send me a message or use the raise hand function within the participants window, and then I can unmute you, and then you can speak with Natasha directly. One quick question though, Natasha. What about sales in business?
Sales?
Sales, yes. I mean, businesses, they create money by working with somebody. They sell something or offer a service or that kind of thing. Huh? Where do the principles come in that?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the word stale.
Sale, S-A-L-E.
Oh, you mean sale?
Sale.
Sale, I'm sorry, I
That's okay.
didn't hear it right. How does the principles come into sales?
Yeah.
Do you mean if I'm selling the principles to a company, or how companies use the principles in selling their own products?
In selling their own products, yes.
Good question. Well, one of the things is that the more authentic you are, the more present you are, the better a listener you are. So for salespeople to be able to be present in the moment, to really listen to what it is that the customers want, the sales are much better. So the principles work in behind the scenes, making you be present, authentic, and a much better listener, so that you don't just sell, whatever product that it is that you think that you want to sell, but you are actually listening to the need of the client. And sometimes you might even say, well, this is actually not the product you need, but let me show you another product or take you to another place that will. And so sometimes you don't make the sale, but the person will trust in you so much that they'll come back to you the next time.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that tells me there isn't an attachment to making the sale anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're attached to that, then like I used to be attached when I was coaching people, that they had to get a result. I was so attached to seeing an outcome, and I got desperate if we'd gone almost a whole hour and they were still looking confused. And now I realize that it's not about me, and it's more about what's going on for them. And maybe it'll take 2 or 3 sessions before they start seeing something. But it's always nice when people after a coaching with me are able to say, well, I don't quite know where I'm going from here, but I feel pretty good at the moment. And usually that's enough that they're curious and they'll want to come back. So that's pretty nice.
That's great. Well, I have a couple of people who would like to speak with you.
Great.
First of all, I'm going to unmute, I think it's pronounced Yetel. Okay, where was he? Hello?
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to say first, I loved how you said, or just explaining about the benefits. It was really clear to me. I work as a coach, and I've done that for a few years, and for 10 years now, I guess. And at the moment, I'm 2 years into the principles, and I feel I'm getting a pretty good grip on it. But also, the creating the clients part is where I'm at now. So I'm kind of just meeting people that I know, and just looking to create more business. And I've been working with businesses for a while before the principles too, but now it's so now it's a new journey in a way. But I'm doing my best to create more business, so I guess my question is, if you recommend, I have a lot of people that I can talk to and just create conversations with, but would you recommend cold calling as well, and just contacting people and booking yourself in, or would you recommend more just through people that you know and create relationships that way?
I don't know what's right for you. I'm sure your own wisdom will tell you. I hate cold calls. I'm just terrified of it. I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I'm so lucky that it's always by referral. I mean, when I meet young people, often who come to me and say, you have some experience. What do I do? It's relationship, relationship, relationship. Always. You start having success with your clients, they will refer other clients to you. You have a company, you do some great work with them, they'll call you back, and then they'll tell their friends about it. So one of the things that has created a successful environment or business for me is that people come back, and then when they've seen me in one company, then they, maybe 2 years later, they call me and say, you remember me? I was at one of your seminars, and now I'm at this company, and then I get into a new company. So it's always that way for me. But I can't say for you, but my experience is that it's always relationships that's the best.
Yeah, me too, actually, it's just letting it take the time it takes, in a way. I guess.
It takes a little time, but it's wonderful to have people come and say, you saw my friend Peter a couple of months ago, and he was so happy, and I want to know what it is. So through your own the sense of joy and peace that people can see in you, from the benefits that you are gaining from the principles, that's the best sales card you have. Is that people look into your eyes and they see that you are joyful, that you are unattached to the outcome, that you are present with them, that you are a good listener. And that's the best way that you can sell yourself, really. And people can see it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Elena. Going to unmute her now. Hello?
Hi.
Hi, Elena.
Hi, Natasha. Thank you so much for a wonderful talk. Really resonated with a lot of things, with everything pretty much. The question I have is, what did you find going into companies doing trainings there? How long timing for the training is the most effective? How many days? Do you split them up? Does it make a difference? That kind of stuff.
What I find is the most beneficial way of doing my trainings is that I have a conversation with people before the training. Mm-hmm. So I have maybe 1 hour of coaching conversation with them, where I talk to them, find out a little bit about who they are, how they're thinking, some of the challenges that they might face. And then I usually have like a 2-day seminar. And then where I teach them about the principles and how it works and how the mind works. And then I have usually 2 or 3 coaching conversations after the seminar. Now I'm finding, especially in this country, that more and more companies are interested in doing things over time, because there's much better benefits. I don't know if you've tried this, but I've definitely been on many seminars for, like, you go in and you're there for 2 days and you go home and you go, yay, and you're so happy. And then after 2 weeks, you're back to business. So there's a tremendous benefit, I find, by having people continue conversations, because then they can say, well, this happened and that happened, and wow, I've noticed this, and then I can help them. So from anywhere from 2 to 4 conversations after the seminar is the usual package. But I also go out and do a 2-hour talk sometimes. I meet people, there's 200 people in the audience, and I do a 2-hour talk. And so it has also to do with which expectations I have and people have. So when there's only two hours in a talk, then I'm hoping that they will start to just for a little bit, just see a little bit, get a glimpse of that it is thought that's creating their experiences, and maybe they can become conscious of that, and start seeing the benefits of noticing that.
Yes, it's interesting because my thinking is going very similar direction, that going in with the training gives the basis, and then follow up, either personal follow up, depending of course on number of people in the training, or a day maybe of follow up training to sort of like solidify the experience a month or so out, probably gives it more body, so to speak, to bring it more into application in companies. And you know what, while you were talking, I had another question, but now of course it's like totally not here.
You're welcome to come back.
Yeah, yes, I will come back probably, because it was a very important question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. If a question comes back, just let me know and we can pick it back on. Okay. Now we have Joel.
Hello.
Hello, Joel.
Hi. So first of all, thank you for the talk. It was very good. So I have two questions for you. First one is the follow-up to Leonard's question. So when you do the preliminary interview, wouldn't that bite into the content of your delivery? Like when you're discussing their state, and you would kind of brought into the need to give him a little bit glimpse of what you're going to talk about, and it kind of you might give the story away in a way. So that's the first point. The second point is, what's the most challenging part of your content that you feel is difficult for the students to comprehend? Thank you.
Okay. So the first part is that the first conversation I have with people is usually just to really listen to them and find out who they are, and for them to get a sense of who I am. So I very rarely go into content at all. So in that way, it doesn't become that then it takes anything away from, because I don't use the same examples. It's much more personal. But I like to, if it's possible in the first conversation, for them to have a little glimpse of thought, then that's great. But usually it's just about getting to know them, having them get a sense of me, because then when they come to the seminar, we start in a different place. There's not that sort of, when you come to a seminar and there's 20 or 30 new people and you're sort of looking around and feeling a little anxious. In a way, I want them to already know that they have at least one friend in the room immediately, and which is me. So it always allows for the start of the seminar to be more warm and welcoming. Does that answer the first question?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So to the second part, what's the most challenging? I guess for people to understand that it really is true, that it's their own thinking that is creating their experience. That for some people that is so difficult. They will come with the most horrific examples that they can possibly think of. They'll go, well, what if you come home one day and your husband is sleeping with another woman? Then of course you're going to get upset because of what he does, right? And you'll be angry with him. So they'll start to come with examples just because they're sure that they can find that one example that makes it not true. But of course, it's always coming with enough examples or metaphors that help them see that it really is our own thinking that creates our experiences 100% of the time. So I guess that's the most challenging sometimes. But I would say for maybe 80% of the people that I meet, they see it quickly. And when I say see it, I mean on the superficial level. First of all, that's where I really, really love that I have these conversations with people afterwards. And Elena, you were talking about doing a one-day follow-up. I've done that many times. I find now, after I've been doing this for a while, that the personal conversations, they are much more powerful, because people will say things to me personally that they wouldn't say in a group. So I get invited inside of their mind much more, and they're much more vulnerable with me and say, I couldn't make this work, and what's going on, or I had a really great success. People are as afraid of talking about their successes as their challenges. So yeah, Jorel, usually I would say really taking personal accountability and say, yes, it is me who's creating this is one of the challenging parts. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I ask you one more question?
Absolutely.
So the question is, when you go into the companies, specifically if you're pitching it to a new client,
Yes.
what is the biggest objection that you get?
How much time? They will always try and say, no, we just need 2 days. And then I usually say, well, I can do it for 2 days. Absolutely, I'll do that. And what you will get is that if I can have conversation, especially after, sometimes I'll waiver the first conversation before the seminar, but afterwards, I say even just one conversation with the person will make it more likely that the person will remember what we've gone through and really get the benefits. And so that's always, because it comes down to money very often for companies, time and money. What they love about the conversations, again, also to you, Elena, is that if I do go back and do a whole day, you have maybe 10, 15 or 20 people who have to take off a whole day of work. It's much more expensive than I am to have 15 people not work for a day. But conversations, they can sit at home, or they could sit at the office, they go into a conference room, they go on the computer. I'm at home, at my office, they're at their office, and it's just 1 hour. So companies are much more likely to spend more money on me in terms of the coaching than they will doing an extra day, because the extra day is more expensive in man hours. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, so you would space it like over 30 days, 45 days?
Usually I'll do a 3 or 4 week follow-up conversation, then 3 or 4 weeks after that. So maybe I'll speak to them the week or 2 weeks before the seminar, then do 2 days, and then 3 weeks and 3 weeks and maybe 3 weeks. And some companies are happy to have me have 4 or even 6 conversations afterwards, especially the ones that know me now, because they've seen that people come back, and they don't just come back and have new skills. They come back and totally they seem transformed in the way that they act. Things that used to stress them out don't stress them out anymore. They seem happier. They just spread more joy to their colleagues. So it's much more easy to sell coaching. Is my take on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Well, it looks like we've run out of questions. Did any more question for you come up? I'll give you 30 seconds, and then I'll ask Natasha to come up with something. Oh, well, hang on. Elena remembered her question. Okay.
Oh, good. Good.
Go ahead, Elena.
I wanted to ask you this. Have you been speaking at the business conferences, on this topic, and does it generate enough interest, if you did, to get into companies?
Absolutely. As much as I can, I speak at conferences. And as I say, it's not so much the content of what it is that I'm talking about, but I very often get the feedback from people that it's my calmness or presence or ease, that there's something there that makes people go, what is it that she's doing? What's she taking? What's she on? And so it's the curiosity that then has them want to get more, and they become more interested. So I try and speak at conferences as much as possible, and do workshops and seminars, and often I'll do it for free, just to promote this and to get people interested.
Yeah, thank you. 'Cause I also, another question actually, because I never tried to speak at the business, I have a technical background, so I know how to get into the technical conference speaking about technical stuff. Now, going into a industry conference with something like this, how difficult is to get submissions? Do they listen? Do they get interested? The conference organizers, I guess.
Well, you have to find out what it is that they want. What would be the benefits for them to listen to you. If I was coming to a completely technical conference, my mindset might not be at, how can I feel better or have more ease in my relationships. So you'd have to frame it right. I mean, framing is so important. So I don't know specifically how to answer that, because I'm not quite sure which kind of conferences and how technical they are, but something like how to become more resilient, most people are going to find that interesting. So I also have a seminar called how to have more success in your relationships and in your work environment. And so people would find that interesting, especially people who are finding it difficult to get along with people in the workplace. They come to this workshop, and of course they think that everybody else is stupid, and then they start to see that, wow, it's thinking about them that's maybe stopping me. So Elena, I'm not quite sure how to answer your question.
No, I think you did, because what is occurring to me right now is that really is the game is to do the submissions, trade shows and stuff, and see what sticks. Mm-hmm. Because some of them honestly will probably be rejected simply because they're like if we're talking about technical stuff, we don't want to dilute it, and some of them might get through. So yeah, it's really about trying and seeing what sticks. But thank you.
Just practice and practice and practice.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Now we have Lisa. I'm going to unmute her now. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So wonderful listen to you here. Yeah, fantastic. Natasha, I would like to know, do you know how much change does this in a firm do for people when you speak with them one time, and then you have this 2-day seminar, and then you speak with them again 3 or 4 times? Mm-hmm. Because I think about how many seminars you and I have attended to, and how many talks and everything, how much we have been really into this. And so do you understand? My question is how far do people normally get by that amount of time of knowledge to this?
Well, it's a great question, and the answer is not very simple, because it depends on this kind of insights that they have. Sometimes I'm really surprised that a tiny insight will make a huge difference for them, and they might have had it on the seminar and not necessarily on the conversations, but it just keeps going, and it changes the whole way that they live their life. So I would say that it's so different from person to person. And you're right, we've been to so many seminars and talks and all this, and it depends on both the level of consciousness that the person is at the moment, their state of mind. It depends on so many things, where they are in their life. So I've had so many people who, even with maybe 4 conversations after and the one before, and they still might only see it a tiny bit, and then people who just come to 1-2 hour talk and they're completely transformed. So I can't say what kind of insights people are going to have, or if they're even going to have any. I think many people, they make the mistake that they try to look for insights. Why am I not having insights? I've been to all of these seminars. Why is nothing happening to me? And the thing is that insights are going to come, and very often they come in a very ordinary way, because they come in the way of a solution to a problem. That's an insight. I used to do this, now I'm doing that. That's an insight. But if you're waiting for this whole, the earth-shattering, everything is going to change, then you can be waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to answer.
Yeah, but it's also because I was thinking about that it must have an influence on people on job if everyone had attended to this. So 8 hours a day, they're together with other people who has been, been knowing about this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always my favorite. My favorite thing is when I have people from the same department. So I have 10 or 15 people who work together. Usually that has the greatest impact.
Yeah.
Because then they keep talking to each other. I was just before the summer holidays, I was out doing a follow-up conversation with these people, and they say, oh, we talk about the train all the time. And so the train is a metaphor that I use, or we talk about the popcorn or the sun, or they'll use some metaphor. And, oh, it's just one of your trains, or, oh, no, that's just the sun that's not coming out because you're clouding them over. So I love that when they can help each other. But, of course, some of my seminars are open, so then I get people from 20 different companies.
Yeah, yes.
But you're right, it's wonderful to be in-house.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay. But now we have Joelle again. Okay. Hello?
Yeah, just one question. I mean, boy. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Well, if it comes back to you, then please just let me know. Okay. Okay, we haven't got any more questions at the moment.
Okay.
I have to say that this webinar has been really insightful for me. I mean, I had a lot of ideas of what do people want, and that kind of thing. Like, this is a lot more ordinary than I thought. So I was thinking that, they want this something really special, and then they will grab for that. But it's none of that.
It's so freeing, Brett, that it really is ordinary. We really all want the same thing. We want to feel peace inside. We want to be joyful. We want to have good relationships for other people. It's the same. And the great thing about this is it's the same if you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or if you're the janitor. We all want the same things. And even more amazingly, we all have the same mind. Our minds work in the same way. So I don't care if I'm standing in front of a CEO or if I'm standing in front of a janitor. I know that they want the same thing. And so I know that I want the same thing. And that makes it very easy to go in and speak to people completely eye level, because I know that we all want the same. We're not different.
Yeah, that there's no more of the putting people on a pedestal.
Yeah, I think one of the perceived limitations that some of us do is, well, I might be able to do a seminar for the janitors. I don't know why I'm picking on janitors right now, or some people, but I wouldn't be able to go into CEOs. So why would that be different? They want the same. They want access to wisdom. They want to feel good with themselves. They want well-being and clarity.
Yeah. Right. I've got 2 more questions now. Looks like Joelle might have remembered. So let's see.
So here it is. I mean, I want to ask you, do you do any pro bono work? Promoting the services?
Yes, I do.
What kind? I mean, can you elaborate?
For instance, I am going to do some work with the psychiatric clinic, a clinic that works with mentally ill, and I'm doing that for free. I've created an 8-month program that I'm doing for nothing. They're just paying for my my flight to go there, but I'm not getting paid. So that's one thing. I very often work with, especially young people who don't make a lot of money, and so I'll be happy to coach them for free. So I'm in a very I'm in a great business, in that a lot of businesses, they pay pretty well for a consultant like me, and so I can make my money there, and that makes it easy for me to spend the rest of my time doing things for people who can't afford someone like me usually. So that's a great joy to be able to do that.
Thank you.
So also for non-profit organizations, of course, like Save the Children. I've done some work for her in Denmark, also for free. So.
Yes, because I think going to nonprofits, promoting yourself and connecting through them with the right people, it's the way to market yourself in a big way.
That's a great way to do it, yeah. Absolutely, because it always looks good on your CV when you've been to those places. So, and it can be a place to get in touch with other people when you do a good job.
Yep, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Now going to unmute Kjetil again.
Hello again.
Hello.
I just, when you talked about that, we all want the same. And so I just got a little curious. I'm not sure about my question, but I'm a little curious about, the need analysis part of that conversation, because you talked about, the benefits, and so I'm curious about how you get into that, need analysis, present a solution, or talk about how is that, can you talk a little bit about that?
So do you mean when I'm at an actual meeting where I'm presenting my seminars or my coaching?
Yeah.
Well, I always ask the people first, what are you looking for? For instance, I was talking to a high-level manager at one of the Danish largest television companies here, and she started telling me what it is that she wants. She said, I have all these challenges, and I want to know about this and this and this, and how do I get more effective, and how do I get my participants to be my employees, all this stuff. And I said, well, we can do this coaching in two different ways. We can take, each time we see you, we can take one challenge and work with that, or we can use all of our time in the next coaching conversation just talking about how your mind works, how you are able to find solutions to your own challenges so that you don't need me anymore. What do you want? And of course, she chose the latter. So it's listening to what they want, and then saying why it is that that's understanding how the mind works is a solution that is beneficial for them. It's something that they can really need. And I love that they don't need me after a while. That's great. That they're able to answer their own questions. Then I feel like it's been successful.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, no more questions at the moment. I'm not quite sure what to say. I've got a very quiet mind at the moment.
That's nice.
Although having said that, I can see quite a few possibilities for myself now. I mean, I can see what I can do, how I can approach businesses, and get this understanding out there a bit more. So, very grateful for that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. If any of you are more interested in this topic, some of you might know this already. I have a collaboration with Dick and Bettinger, who some of you might know. He and I are collaborating on writing a book at the moment called Being Home. And also I've invited him to come to Denmark in October. And he and I are doing a business seminar called Wisdom in Business. So the same topic as today. So we're doing a 2-day seminar where we are focusing on how to, as a 3 principles facilitator or coach, how can I reach businesses? So going into even more depth than I have today, because we'll have more time. And also, but it's also for business people to come. So there might come some people that don't have any 3 principles training at all, who know nothing about it, but who maybe have heard of some of the benefits, or who already know me or Dickon, and who are interested in learning more. So we're doing this business seminar in 19th and 20th of October in Copenhagen. And it's retreat style, so we'll be staying at the same hotel, all of us. If you're on Facebook or you're on Supermind, I know Brett has agreed to put it up on his website, and I'll also be sharing it on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So anyone who wants to link with me on LinkedIn, you're very welcome. And also, Dickon and I are then the weekend of the 24th and 25th of October, we are doing a weekend called Coming Home, which is much more of an open seminar for everyone. So people in business, or people who are unemployed, or whatever, everyone's welcome. It's more probably a little more spiritual, I would say, in content than probably the business one. So he's going to be in Denmark for about 12 days altogether, and working with me. So that's exciting. So I'd love to see some of you there if it's possible for you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, got a couple of people having more things. I didn't see Birdie waving her hand. I'm going to unmute Birdie now.
Okay.
Hello, Birdie.
Hi, Brett. Hi, Natasha.
Birdie.
I haven't been into organisations yet, but I'd love to go there. And my question is, how do you initially set your pricing, say, for a 2-day workshop or 2-day seminar?
Well,
when you're new to this.
I've been doing this for 20 years, so I haven't changed my price. I mean, I've changed my prices, but it's been going from, over many years. So I have the same prices as before that I did the principles. So usually it's anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 pounds a day, is depending on the company and what they want, or absolutely free if it's a non-profit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Birdie.
Thank you.
It's always good to see what kind of company is it. What do I know anyone who have worked with that company before? What do they usually pay? So I know the whole scene in Denmark, so I know approximately what the prices are for consultants. So I'm right in the middle of what everybody else takes. So.
Right. Okay.
But again, my prices, I'm saying it now, but you have to remember that Denmark is one of the most expensive countries in the world to live in. So it might seem like a lot of money. So I don't know what it is in the UK.
No, I would have to ask around. No, it's just I've met, Smarty does a lot of first aid training actually, and he's a very good contact because I was speaking to him when I did some first aid training with him. And he said, oh, why don't you go into companies? Because there's so much stress in every company. And he goes to all the companies right across Wales. So, he'd be a great guy to have an introduction from, really. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that was the thing that was holding me back. I wasn't quite sure what to ask for or what to say.
Yeah,
so. And he gave me lots of ideas tonight.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. So good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to unmute Elena again.
Thank you so much for taking my requests. First of all, let me follow up on the Birdie's question. So 1,000 to 2,000, and I know that in States and in Europe it's probably a different thing, but is it a day per training or a day per person?
That's per training. So
Okay.
I don't care if there's 5 people or 20 people. I'll usually take between 1,000 and 3,000 pounds per day.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Another quick question. With the seminar with Dicken, which you're planning on, are you guys going to be live streaming there?
No. But now that you say that, you're giving me an idea.
Yes, please consider.
Yeah, I really will. I'll find out how to do that. Maybe you can help me with that, Britt.
Yeah,
I'll do what I can.
that would be beautiful because I work with Dicken as well, and experience him in this kind of training with the business stuff and with you would be just amazing. Yes, and then another question I have for you regarding your trainings. So would you say that the companies can pinpoint the impact on their results, business results from your trainings? Have you had those conversations? Do you have the...
It's with what I do, I think, 95% of all the trainings I go into, they have evaluations afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So when they have good evaluations, they not only have after the 2-day seminar, they also have after we've talked for the conversations. So they have people simply go back and tell them what they've experienced from the seminar. So that's the way that we do it at the moment.
But can you give me examples of, like, for example, the company would come and say, well, because of your training, we were able to increase our sales, or, more specific business bottom line things?
Absolutely. I see that again and again. But mostly, the business results or the bottom line is very often affected because people are happier. They communicate better. They're better listeners. They are more authentic. They're more present, and people want to be with them. People want to do business with them. So it's secondary. It becomes secondary.
It's interesting. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody about this because I'm kind of like in the middle of putting together a training. That's why I can ask you from now till next day. But so the thing was in this conversation that because results, the bottom line results might not be a direct impact, it's like indirect impact. Some companies might be reluctant to admit that it's the training which actually affected it. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't have that experience. I don't know. And in my head, it probably isn't like that, but you are the person with experience. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Sometimes when I speak to people after the seminar, maybe the first or second time, they say, I say, well, how's it been going? And they say, well, it's difficult to say because I haven't had any challenges at work. I haven't had any conflicts. And so it's just been a very quiet period. And so they don't necessarily see that maybe it's because something has changed for them. And I don't have an attachment for them to see that it's what we did at the seminar. I just go, oh, okay, that's nice. So it also has to do with how important it is for me to see that it's what I've helped them maybe point to that has made an impact.
Yeah.
What I'm saying?
Yes, and I totally am admiring, your non-attachment to that in a sense. And I'm just thinking, having those kind of results and feedback coming back is definitely something which is very powerful in bringing this into next client, as testimonials, right?
Yeah,
when we
and
have them.
testimonials are great, and very often when people have evaluations of what I've done, they will they have a place in the evaluation where they can write what they have experienced, and so that those are good for the company to see. Oh wow, people are saying all this great stuff. Let's hire this person back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really nice. And some people won't even notice. They're just feeling better, and I'm very happy for them.
Yeah. You know, for me, it's interesting because, you know, when I reflect on it, one of the biggest drivers for me to go into the company is actually a very indirect effect, because I know that's the stuff which is going to stick with them, and that's the stuff which they're going to bring home to their kids. Mm-hmm. So funny enough, going into companies, I'm actually doing it for kids, you know.
Great. Wonderful.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That lets me know you have an evaluation process. Did that mean that there's something for people to write in before you coach them, or you have your seminar and then you have a before and after, so it becomes more evidence-based, perhaps?
Oh, I just lost the picture.
Oh, okay.
Just give me a second here.
Take your time.
How did I? Oh, now I'm back. I'm sorry, Brett. I lost the picture and I didn't hear what you were saying.
Okay. You spoke of evaluation.
Yeah.
Right. Does that mean that there's a process at the beginning where people write out something, and then they have your pre-seminar coaching, and then maybe something to fill out of the seminar and afterwards, so it becomes more evidence-based?
Yes. For most of what I do, I have people make before I even have the conversation with them, I send them a form where I ask them to, for instance, say 3 to 5 challenges that they are having, and I ask them to put out what is the challenge, how does it what do they think about the situation, how does it make them feel, and what kind of bodily reaction might they have. So they're writing down 3 to 5 challenges with these different things that I'm asking them about. Then I have them not only mail it to me, but mail it to their nearest manager, so that the manager gets it. Then I have the conversation with them, and then we talk about the challenges and what they are hoping to get from the seminar, and I speak to them a little bit about what we'll be going to talk about. Then there's the 2 days of seminar. Then I often have the 2 to 4 conversations with them. And then I have the last conversations, either if it's the second one or the fourth one, as often as I can, I have the manager be there. And then I have the manager talk about what they have seen of changes through that time. So when I have it the way I love to have it, then it's over a 6 months period. And the manager can say, you know, in the beginning you were always so nervous at meetings and you never used to say anything, and now I see you look really comfortable at meetings. You participate, you come with great ideas, and you're much more lively and laughing more. And people, it really has an impact on them when they can see, especially from their manager or even a close colleague, that it's made a change for them. Because sometimes we don't realize changes for ourselves, and it's other people who say, no, you've really changed. I've noticed this. So that's perfect when that can be done. When that can't be done, it's often just a written evaluation, sometimes before and after, mostly just after, unfortunately. Depends on how much time people want to spend on it and money.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. I'm sorry, I've got a dog that's making a few noises. I want to mute myself quickly, sorry. But Pietro, I've got another question, so I'm going to unmute him now.
Great.
Hello again.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you got, you know, the leaders on top, they want some training for their staff, but they're not kind of seeing that it would be beneficial to themselves, or you know, they're like, you know, I just want to train them, and they're not engaged in that. How do you how do you, what do you do then?
I'm smiling because it's so funny. I'm going to this. It's the fourth largest corporation in Denmark. On Monday and Tuesday, I'm doing training for 4 of their top managers. And these 4 guys, they have had all of their employees trained by me last year, and they didn't want to go to the training, but they're seeing how it's affected their employees. So I think together these 4 manage around little more than 120 people. So I've had all of those people on my seminars, and now the managers are coming back to me saying, "Can we have some too?" so I wouldn't worry about it. Just train the employees, and then it'll show itself. When they start to benefit, they will get curious. What's this? Why are they so happy? Why are they getting better results? We want some of that. So don't worry.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you.
People's smiles are always the best sales pitch that we can have.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're just about coming to the end of our time today. So I just want to say a very big thank you to Natasha. This has been one of the most delightful webinars that I've had the pleasure to host.
You're welcome. It's good to see you all, and I hope to see you again in the future. And even if there doesn't come a live streaming, we will videotape the both seminars. So, Elena, even if we don't live stream, you'll be able to buy them through Brett after the seminars. They'll be set to sale on Brett's
on the Superman website.
On the Superman website, yes.
Okay, so and lastly, before we go out, how can people get in touch with you?
So my website is called theprinciplesinstitute.com. theprinciplesinstitute.com, and they have all the events that I'm doing with Dicken on it. There's videos of Dicken and I talking about the different trainings, so you can see us speaking. It says a little bit about the book that we're writing together. There's some videos around me where I'm being interviewed about my coaching practice and how I've taken it from being an ordinary coach to a 3 principles coach. So www.theprinciplesinstitute.com. Go there and you'll get everything you need to get in touch with me.
Thank you. Just to remind everybody, when I first tried to get onto your website, I missed out that there had been 3. They've got somebody else's website. So it's theprinciplesinstitute.com, not 3 Principles Institute. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. The Principles Institute.
Okay, so this concludes what I would consider the first dive into businesses for webinars on Superman. So I can't think of a better way how you've done it. So again, much appreciation. And it will be the first of many. We will be inviting Natasha back again, plus some other very well established principal practitioner in businesses as well. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm now going to unmute everybody so everybody can stay there warm, well wishes and everything. No? Okay, you're on meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Natasha.
Goodbye. Thank you, Natasha. Thanks again, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
Okay, thank you all, everybody, and we'll see you again next time. I'm going to end the meeting now. Okay, take care of yourself. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.